And we are back with another transfer report. This time we're doing it again. We're doing another young superstar from the Bundesliga. This one you may have heard his name a little bit passed around. That young man is Jadon Sancho, who, if you haven't heard, has been blowing up the Bundesliga. I think it's fair to say for the last 2 seasons now. We get into what we know about the transfers so far. We analyse what he brings to Manchester United, why United want him, and compare him to whose position at United is most likely under siege.
Also, later on, we get into grading the transfer from A to F for Man United. We factor in the fit into the team and the price and overall how good it is for Man United. And as usual, we will go to the bullshitter meter where we grade it from 1 to 10. 1 out of 10 being if it was absolute horseshit from the Sun, and 10 if it was tweeted out by the official club itself. Now, thanks to all our new and current subscribers. You guys are the best. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and let's get into it. So, what do we know about the transfer so far? We know that Man United have been stalking Jadon Sancho for 2 years at least, but Fabrizio Romano has stated that official talks have begun between the two clubs and has gone as far as saying that personal terms have been agreed with Jadon Sancho up to 2025. Now, The Athletic have come out and said that is not the case in terms of personal terms being agreed, but also that the wage structure at Man United is being considered by Ed Woodward, and that if they were to offer something ridiculous like the £340,000 per week mooted about, would upset stars in the current Man United squad.
Yeah, which is very important. I think it's quite astute of Woodward to try and put in a form of wage structure, because you're right. If you get a new guy come in, I mean, he's 20 years old and he's paid like double what you are, it could cause problems.
I feel like it would hurt Pogba the most. I don't know why.
Pogba will kick him every chance.
Yeah.
So the fee being requested by Dortmund is 120 million euros. That's after add-ons and bonuses, which United quite understandably balked at, citing that his pre-corona valuation is entirely unrealistic in the current economic climate, which I think that's fair, but at the same time, Dortmund's position is going to be they have an incredible player.
Yeah.
You've got to pay the bill if you want this player. And it is understood that United want to structure a deal in a way where it's more multiple installments and add-ons rather than a massive chunk up front. So I think what we're reading from this is that Dortmund are willing to sell, but it has to be in a structure that suits them. So United have to pay a certain amount up front and have to pay a certain amount in installments. It's worth mentioning that, again, just like with the Havertz transfer, Dortmund officials have come out and said, we haven't even spoke to United yet. If I was a United fan, I wouldn't worry about that. It's a standard negotiation tactic.
Okay, that is all for the transfer latest. We are going to get into analysis right now.
So let's get into the analysis. So the first question we ask ourselves is, why do Manchester United want Sancho? On the face of it, Manchester United sorted out a lot of their problems with the signing of Bruno Fernandes. Since the arrival of Bruno Fernandes, Manchester United have got a total of 21 points out of a possible 27, which in this like made-up table puts 2 points ahead of Arsenal and Liverpool, which isn't bad. It also puts them as the top goal scorers and puts them the best defensively. So I would say, really, do they need Sancho? Looking at that, the answer is no. But let's be honest, if you can buy Sancho, you buy Sancho. He is that bloody good. Where do you think he's going to end up playing for Manchester United, Gary?
Well, he plays right wing for Borussia Dortmund, and he would slot straight into the right wing position at Man United. There's a front three of Martial, Rashford on the left, and Sancho on the right. He would effectively be replacing Daniel James, who Daniel James has been impressive in the early parts of the season, but it's probably not consistent enough, and is just not as good of a player as Sancho is. And the other person, and that is Mason Greenwood, who has, he's been a superstar since football has returned, but he's still probably a bit raw. I think the Man United fans would be upset that they'd be taking away some minutes from Greenwood, but Sancho, in terms of his combination play, in terms of going in behind the defence and taking players on, he is a massive improvement on that right wing side.
I think it's fair to say for Greenwood as well, his preferred position is a striker. That's probably where he's going to be played in a few years' time. So it kind of, yes, it takes away minutes from him playing on the right wing, but it gives him a lot more opportunity now to play up front.
Yeah. Now let's get into the player comparisons. And the very first player comparison we've got is comparing Sancho to Daniel James.
So here we go. Player comparisons. They are up on your screen now. Now, if you're wondering why that we're giving zero analysis to all these lovely statistics that are in front of you right now, that is because, to be brutally honest, it is a complete and utter mismatch.
Yeah, we thought it'd be more appropriate to actually compare Sancho to one of the best right wingers in the Premier League in Mohamed Salah instead of Daniel James.
Sorry, James.
Yeah, Daniel James is, for Man United, the most senior right winger, but he's blown out of the water by Sancho. So let's get into comparing him with Mo Salah. So for this season, 2019-20 season, Sancho has scored 17 goals and assisted 16 times, whilst Mo Salah, he has scored 19 times and he's got 10 Premier League assists. So two very impressive stats for both wingers. So what stats jump off the page for you, Alex?
So for all the stats you're seeing now, what you're seeing is per minute, which I think is quite important as it gives a slightly fairer comparison between the two. As you can see, Sancho scores a goal every 135 minutes, whereas Salah 152. That's quite accurate. And if you look at their XG, Gary, I don't know if you want to do your famous XG explanation quickly.
Expected goals are the likelihood of scoring a goal. It's measuring the quality of the chance based on the position and angle you are from goal. So if you're 1 yard with a tap in to an open goal, your XG should be 1. But if you're shooting from the opposition corner flag all the way back in your own half, there's probably a 0. And the same thing applies for XA, depending on the pass you receive, what position and angle you are to goal as well.
Thank you very much, Gary. So the XG for Sancho is 246, where Salah is 152. And that brings us to, it's one of my favourite stats, but it's our actual versus expected for XG. And what this does is, this actually looks into how much of a good finisher they are. So if we look at Salah, you see he's got a goal every 152 minutes and his XG is at 152 minutes, which basically means he hits the nail on the head every time. If he gets a good chance, he'll convert it. If he doesn't, he might miss it, the more difficult ones. But Sancho, look at that stat. What that basically means, he's scoring a lot more goals from a lot more difficult positions. They're from tighter angles. He's scoring a lot more goals that maybe he shouldn't be scoring. And I think that really credits him to how good of a finisher he is.
Yes. I also add to that, I really like his combo play in and around the edge of the box with the Dortmund players. Is super intelligent and instinctive, which is a reason why he scores so many goals. But his XA, Sancho has an XA for every 255 minutes compared to Mo Salah of 407. So he, certainly in the Bundesliga, he is a better performer in terms of assisting his teammates than Mo Salah. But, you know, the Premier League is a very difficult outfit. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not he can do that in the Premier League. Yeah,
and if we look at his AVE for his XA,
his AVE for Sancho is 44% better than expected, and for Mo Salah it's 29%. So these boys are performing their XA, which is very impressive.
Just to break that down simply for you guys, what that basically means, where the XA is higher than the actual assists, what that means is that basically they're doing passes to teammates where they shouldn't necessarily score, but they are. So it's good finishing for both Salah's team and Sancho's team.
Yeah,
I mean that stat there though, his XA and his actual assists per minute is insane. Like that is just incredible. But I think he has the three things you need to be an incredible passer of the ball, and that's vision, weight of pass, and timing.
Yeah,
and you'll see. It's quite rare that you see players with all three. You know, De Bruyne's one of them that has all of them, but he sees the pass. He releases the ball at the right time, and he puts the ball right on the toe of the player that he's aiming for.
Every fan who's watched Jadon Sancho, like in the Champions League for Dortmund, you can see the quality that he has. But I think when you look at these stats, when you're looking at them now, they look quite scary, and they are a small insight into what potential this young England international has. And we move on to the key passes. Now, key passes, Sancho has a key pass every 33 minutes, which is, of course, insane. So he's almost getting 3 key passes per 90. And Mo Salah has one every 47 minutes, so he's a bit better in that regard. Another very interesting stat is the successful dribbles, which is 30 minutes for Sancho and 58 for Mo Salah, which, if you look, like, you'd say Sancho is a better dribbler than Mo Salah. Like, Mo Salah is very effective, but like pure skill, you can see that, and you can see that in the stats.
I think what Sancho has over Salah is that one-on-one ability. Salah's a good dribbler, but Sancho's one of them that if he gets one-on-one with his man, he is beating him, and it's scary.
So that is all for the analysis and the stats. The next section up is the grading for the transfer.
And the bullshit meter. Fucking love that.
So onto the section, we grade this transfer from A to F based on how we think the player will fit into the team, how good it is from Man United's perspective, including the price of this deal for Man United. And Alex, what is your grade for this transfer?
So in the last video, I gave Havertz an A, and that's because they're signing for 80 million, but they're signing a very good player for 80 million. I think Sancho, he's been more consistent over the last 2 seasons, and he's been consistently fucking good. And I think for that reason, that warrants the 40 million extra that you're paying for him. So I'm throwing it out, and again, he's getting an A too.
Okay, I see. You know, for me, if I just think about it rawly in terms of you getting Sancho, you're getting an incredible player, I was giving this an A, or even an A plus, really, because he's a great talent. But then I was looking at that Man United team, and I'm like, what's that famous saying? Like, every day is chest day. You know, you forget about leg day every single day, and that's what Man United seem to be doing. They just focusing all on their attack, and I feel like they could spend 120 million euros on a defensive midfielder, another centre back, and
probably a left back.
Yeah, probably a left back as well, and they would be probably 20 to 25% better. I mean, Sancho, he comes in, you're definitely box office. Man United will be absolutely box office for like 2 or 3 seasons, and they'll be amazing to watch. But bringing him in, the pressure, it would go from them where they are now to you have to like essentially compete for the Premier League now if you bring someone like that in. So, but I think they could have got just as good spending that money on the rest of the team. So I'm giving it a B plus. Watch the hatred in the comments. I'm anticipating it.
Oh no, I think that's absolutely fair. I think the thing that for me that tips it over to an A is just how good he is, and that he's only 20. But I completely understand your reasoning, and I think good luck with all the hate you get.
It's not me. Ed Woodward should get it.
No, it's you. Should we get on to my favourite part?
Yes, bullshit meter. We rank between 1 to 10. 1 being whether or not it is written by the Sun. 10 if we think that the transfer is going to go through the next day, essentially. For me, I'm giving it 8 out of 10. It seems pretty far down the line. No other teams or clubs are in for Sancho because they can't afford him. Man United have been stalking him for more than a year. I don't think Sancho knows who else to date other than Man United. So I think this is going to go through.
I've gone a bit lower. I've gone for deciding between 6 and 7, but I think I'm going to go 7. Okay. And the reason why is because I think this transfer will happen. But Dortmund aren't exactly in a position where they need to sell. Sancho has quite a few years left on his contract. He might kick up a fuss. But if United don't offer a transfer fee or a structure in which they're happy with, then there's a good chance that Dortmund might say no.
Interesting. Enjoy the hate with that one, that grading then as well.
Take it in turns.
But that is everything. Thanks so much, guys. We had so much fun making this video. Thanks for all your support, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
See you soon.